Welcome back to Straub Customs, and this is going to be part 3 of the raised bed. This will be the final part, and today we're going to start cutting out some sheet metal and getting it fixed to the sides. Let's get to some measurements. I got the bed center all taken out. I've got the tailgate taken off. Now we're going to clean this up because it's been sitting here catching oil and transmission fluid. We are down to the skeleton. A little bright. Let's turn you around. Like I said, we're down to the skeleton of the frame. We're going to get some sheet metal along the edge sides, in between the wheel wells, right here on the top and down the back, or I'd say the front side. These sides are going to be doors on this side. Door right there, so we can have little cubbies for extra airbags, tools, things like that. Up front, we're going to have doors on the tops, and those are big enough to fit camping chairs in and a few other things. There will be a little bit of storage under there as well. That's where the winch is going. We're going to get that top plate cut out, get a dimple die for our wires to get ran in there. So let's start getting some measurements right here, all along the top, and then these sides is what we need. So I went and did all the measuring off camera, and hopefully this will explain what I'm doing. These top sheets right here and down here are going to be angled. In between this section is where that metal rod is. That's the angle iron that the ramp sits on. So we'll get the top, we'll get the sides cut out. These two side measurements, we're going to get those cut out of ram board first and then get them transferred over to some metal. Okay, I got the ram board cut to the rough dimensions. There's a couple little nicks you got to take out. So let's go get it transferred over to some metal. Got the first piece cut out of metal and clamped into place. I got it all trimmed up to size. I'm going to knock that lip over to match up like that, get it all welded in. We've got to remove the truck bed lining on all the sides where they meet up. But now that I got the first one, I'm going to try fitting it in on the other 3 sides and see how they line up. Now that we got the first one fitted up just right, I went and made 4 more. That side was a 1/16 inch I had to shave off, but everything fit pretty symmetrically. Now we're going to get the top plates cut out, and then we'll get those set on. Nothing's tacked in right now, we're just fitting. So I do not have any fancy equipment to cut my stuff, long straight lines, none of that. So I'm just using an angle grinder and on my floor. I just had a level. I just used a straight edge to make the lines. Now we're going to get this finished cut, and then I'll get it put on and show you. Alright, I got that long piece cut out. This is the second one. We'll bring it over here. And it's going to fit up just like that. The other side over here. So now it's got the 2 sides and the top done. I've got the lines laid out for the side pieces. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 long cuts I've got to make. Let's see how long that takes. And there's the sides just holding on to place. That took about an hour to cut out both sides. And now the wheel wells are fully enclosed. Now before I tack any of this on, I've got to grind down some spots on the truck bed where the liner is. I've got to clean all this metal because it's been sitting on my floor and collecting oil and transmission fluid and power steering fluid. And so I'm going to get all that cleaned up. Then we're going to get it all tacked on, and then we'll go from there. But first I'm going to get the bed on and see how it looks. You guys get to watch me struggle because this isn't very light. Okay, that wasn't too bad. It's all the way up to the hinges. So this is what you'll see. Not too bad. Everything's got a nice gap. Alright, we got it pulled back into the garage. We got the top deck taken back off. Now that all the panels are cut, we're going to start taking them off so that we can get it all tacked in. The first thing I'm going to tack in is the inner section for the wheel wells. So now that I got the insides of the wheel wells all welded in, I'm going to get the top plate put on. It's got some holes so I can do some plug welds. It's going to get welded on, and then I'm going to come in here with some seam sealer before I weld in this plate. Before I fully weld the top plate in, I'm going to weld on the sides. We're going to throw some tacks in it. I've got some holes for some plug welds. That way, when it's all welded up, we can blend everything nicely. So now that I put 1,000 tacks on this side, we're going to go ahead and get the other side done. Before we have to come in through the bottom side to get this inside the wheel well. The inside of this is all tacked up, and the inside of that side's all tacked up. Let's start working on this side. The driver's side is going to be exactly like the passenger side. We're going to get it all clamped up. We're going to start with the top side, and then we're going to work our way down. We'll go through and hit the plug welds as we go through and work down. Alright, let's do 1,000 tacks on this side too. Sorry about the glare, the sun's setting in the wrong direction right now. So I went ahead and cut out a few plates. This one will be where the winch wires come through. It's just going to go on to right there. Got a couple for the inside. That one will go on the inside, and then we'll run the long ones down this from right here all the way down. Off camera, I went and trimmed this piece up to fit. There's a little notch over the axle. I just cut that out, got it shaved up to fit. It's going to be tacked into place to fit for now, and then we're going to go through and weld everything from the back side, just like we did with the top ones. I went and made up some end plates. I know earlier in the video I said these were going to be doors, but we're going to have the doors on the top to match the front. That way we can access everything from the top and won't have to drop the tailgate. I got these back plates completely welded on. They're ready to go. Got a little bit of it sanded down to see what I'm working with. If you come up to the front of the bed, I got this plate welded on. So that means all of the sides are completely done. Still got to go through and fully weld them. With work and life, it's been a couple weeks since I've been out in the shop. There's snow on the mountains. It's almost Halloween. I got the heater on. I've got the fan on. Let's get this whole thing welded up. Just like that, all the welding's done. Time to get to grinding. Now that it's getting cold and everything's all welded up, I can do all the grinding inside the garage with the heater. So I'm going to start working on this where I can pull it outside, sand it down, and get it stained. I also got this piece of wood fitted, so we're going to need to sand and stain that one as well. I put some hinges on each side of this so that I can access it for a future project. I got the bed off, so I'm going to go ahead and drill all the holes in the wood. Okay, I didn't mind blowing through the other side because we're still going to sand it, stain it, and put carriage bolts in it. Now that I got this on the makeshift stand out here, or quarter pipe if you want to get technical, we're going to get to sanding this whole top deck. The tops are all sanded down. I got it removed from the frame. All the boards are flipped upside down. I'm going to start staining the bottoms of them and then get it put back on. This is the stain I'm using. I'm going with the true black. So let's see how this turns out. So that's what it looks like to use a roller. I'll get back to you when it's done. There you go, just like that, they're all black. Except for the bottom, which is the top. But we'll worry about that when it's back on. Now that this side is solid black, we're going to flip them over and move to the tops. Just like that, the tops are all black. Now time to let them dry. I've got the boards outside off of the drying rack. Wait, you don't use your truck as a drying rack? In order to make this discount wood look good, I stained the whole thing black, and now I'm going to hit it with some 220 to bring out the wood grain, and then we're going to seal it with some water seal. Let's get to it. just want enough for the wood grain to show through. And I think we're getting there. A couple more passes and it'll look really nice. Okay, so you can kind of see all the wood grain through it. We're just going to go in with the water seal and roll it on. I don't really know how this is going to turn out because I'm just winging it. Alright, I'm going to let that dry and see how it goes. As I'm working on the wood decking, I'm going through and I'm grinding this edge all the way around. I'm grinding the rail along where the deck sits, and then I'm going through and grinding along that edge. I'm going to start putting the doors on the tops now. I've got a piano hinge cut to length from inside to inside. It's going to fold down. I've got it bolted on, just in a couple spots for right now. And then I went ahead and made a piece that'll fit the spot. And we're going to get that welded to the piano hinge. And then we'll have our first door. I am going to get a couple tacks on the door just so we can see it function. And now we have our first door. And there it is. All 4 utility boxes are done. They shut just fine. They line up just right. Now it's time for primer and paint. Now that everything's done, I went over it with some wax and grease remover. I'm going to start laying down some self-etching primer. I don't have a fancy paint shaker, so I've been off camera shaking for about 5 minutes and my arms are already tired. Now's the time to start spraying. Now that we got all the primer laid down, we're going to let that dry and then we're going to come in with the black. Almost done. It's time to get some black laid down. There we go. All the black's done. Let's let that dry now. I'm working on final assembly. Only 42 bolts to install, and then we'll get it pulled out into the sun. Alright, and here's the final walkthrough. Both boxes on each side have doors. Gets a little scuffed up when it opens and closes, but that's alright. The whole truck's a little messed up. I think it came out pretty good. It's exactly what I wanted. Got the little cubby holes on the side over here too. These front cubbies are big enough to hold a couple camping chairs. And one main important thing, my skateboard. I still need to build a lift system, whether that's air suspension or electronic. But it lifts up with the ramp. It also lifts up without the ramp. For right now, I've just got some poles holding it. So let's take a look. Got the ramp run up. Underneath it all, everything looks good. Eventually I'm going to get some truck bed liner and do all of it, but for now it's just black. So that'll be it for part 3 of the raised bed. There's a couple things that I wanted to get done that I didn't. I just couldn't make up my mind. We need some sort of locking system or latches for the doors. I need an access door for the gas tank, and I also need a battery box and battery for the winch. We'll get those figured out later. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed the videos.